Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Tom Colohue and this is Spoiler Warning. On today's show we are going to be talking about two championship matches dropped from WrestleMania Backlash and last minute changes to that card. We're going to discuss the latest news about Roderick Strong as we've discussed previously, and of course we're going to discuss some Roman Reigns news as well. So hopefully everything is working, everything is flying, so strap in, strap on and strap yourselves down for Spoiler Warning. Welcome everyone. So, before we jump into the news about WrestleMania Backlash, shortly before this show aired, I did see in my Discord a tweet that came from a Sean Ross Sapp of Fireful 45 minutes ago stating that Roderick Strong had asked for his release recently. Now, I can confirm that this is definitely true. Thank you for the confirmation there, Austin. I can confirm that this is definitely true. The reason I can confirm it is because I've mentioned it several times before, that Roderick Strong is very much planning to tune in. Very much planning to leave the WWE as soon as he can in order to reunite the Undisputed Era in AEW. And that very much is still the case. I've mentioned this, as I said, many times in the past, but I can guarantee you in that report, which is on the paywall service, I will get nary a mention in any way, shape or form. Roderick Strong is attempting to leave the WWE. The WWE are not inclined to do so. Not just because they don't want to lose Roderick Strong, but also because they don't want to have the visual on AEW programming of the returning Undisputed Era. They don't want something that they have, in their own words, built, becoming an AEW staple. We will also be talking about WrestleMania Backlash, Roman Reigns and the like. There's been two changes made to the WrestleMania Backlash card, particularly championship matches taken away, leaving just one. But firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in so far. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit the like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference. And also, not only should the YouTube side be working now, it should also be slightly higher quality. Just slightly higher quality than it was, though it does seem to be having an issue with my audio, so if there's any audio issues, please do let me know. This is an Ask Me Anything stream, so by all means ask whatever questions you have, and jump in and join in the chat and the fun as we go. So, two matches have been dropped from the WWE Wrestlemania Backlash 2022 card, both of which were championship matches, and a match that was a championship match has been evolved because of it. There was a push, though it never became official, to have Roman Reigns face Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania Backlash. This is why we had Nakamura step up to Roman on the SmackDown after WrestleMania. However, this did not go anywhere. Essentially, that was the intention, but they've abandoned the prospect very quickly afterwards. The WWE, as I've mentioned before several times, have been making it up as they go along when it comes to what's going on with the Unified Championships. There was a plan to have that match. That is not one of the matches that I would say has been dropped from the card because it was never officially going to be on the card. It was only very briefly a creative push. A match that has been dropped from the card, that was going to be on the actual WrestleMania Backlash card, is the Raw Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville. The WWE dropped that match essentially when they decided to have the whole six-man tag and the whole unification match go bye-bye. This, once again, very recent choice. They moved the match for the Raw Women's Championship onto Raw, which we saw quite recently, between Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville. I believe it was last week. That is roughly, basically, when they decided to make the change of the unification match, meaning that what would have been our third and technically our fourth championship match to be removed was, of course, the unification of the tag team championships between Raw and SmackDown. This has now been scrapped to build towards Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. The reason for this is something that I mentioned on a show a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I don't even think it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a week and a half, maybe. That is because the original plan was Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns in the UK, with the special UK pay-per-view taking place in September. Now, there is a different plan, particularly for Drew McIntyre at that event, Tyson Fury is making overtures about returning to the WWE to take on Drew McIntyre in the UK. Tyson Fury apparently not so willing to travel, especially for week in, week out, but will be spending considerable time in the UK for that match. Drew McIntyre has been pushing for it for a while, and it looks like it's going to go ahead. With this in mind, the decision was made to push Roman versus Drew to sooner in the calendar, which also leaves the possibility, of course, of something like Randy Orton versus Roman as we build to Money in the Bank. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns is still very much in the future, but it is not the be-all, end-all at this point in time. The WWE, as mentioned, have essentially been making up, as they go along, the entire situation with the championships. So when it comes to the WWE and Universal Championships, even they don't know what the situation's going to be at the end of tonight. Even they are not entirely sure what it's going to look like, because they're just making it up. Let's get to some of our comments and questions. Austin Palmeter says, when can we get Drew versus Roman? Very soon. We'll see it. WrestleMania Backlash, just as part of a 6-man tag. The feud will continue afterwards. Also says, when do you think we see Alexa? Shortly after WrestleMania Backlash. As she has herself said, she's ready. She's just waiting for the call. The WWE hadn't planned to use her until around this time, the entire time. Ed, welcome, says, it's time, it's Colohue time. I'd imagine, Ed, you are popping over to the YouTube side, at least briefly at the beginning there, to let me know if anything went wrong. Thankfully, it looks like nothing has gone wrong. I seem to have fixed whatever the issue was, though you may note that my screen looks slightly different. What I did do, because of the issues that we had yesterday, is I downloaded what would have been spoiler warning from Twitch, cut out a few sections, and then uploaded that onto YouTube. And that gained 100 or so views, so people were definitely watching that. Thank you everyone who tuned in and clicked like on that video as well. Sean says, hello Tom. Adam Glynn, a street journalist in New York City who interviews big-name celebrities, stopped Alexa after she was getting off a flight and asked her numerous questions. Okay, I don't like that guy. I absolutely do not like that guy on that basis. Austin says, finally YouTube is working. It is. We're still not to a point of monetization, but it's a bank holiday weekend right now, and they are still processing a tax form that I submitted. So hopefully that'll be processed in time for Friday, and we can get back to monetized, and we can try and keep the subscriber numbers going up, because in the last month or so I've had 22. Not great considering we used to be getting 122. Wolf Gamer says, Tom Colohue. Welcome, Wolf Gamer. While I'm on the topic of the YouTube, please do remember to hit thumbs up. Every like makes a massive difference. And subscribe if you haven't already. We have seen a little boost to the subscriber numbers in the last few days, and I'd like to keep that going. It says, spoiler warning, needs a flash screen and Scott Steiner audio. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Like a proper holler if you hear me, but with, spoiler warning. Jaden says, hey Tom. Hey Jaden. Sai says, hope you're good Tom. Did my live 24-hour live stream for charity yesterday. I don't recommend it. Looking forward to your show. I respect that, Sai. I very much respect that. It's just not going to be an easy situation for anyone to do a 24-hour stream. The longest I've done has been a 10.5-hour stream, when I basically played the entirety of the game The Last of Us in one sitting. Now that was on a Sunday, and honestly, I do still have time on Sundays. So I'm thinking I may go back to some of the gaming stuff on Sundays, but it depends on the setup that I have here. There's a couple of things I'm still trying to sort of make work in my favour before I can make this as effective as it should be. But I'm working on it, guys. I promise you, I'm working on it. Megan says, evening all. Welcome, Megan. How you doing? I did see your tweet about a year anniversary on Twitch. Congratulations. Big congratulations to you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I quite enjoy your streams. Simon says, hey Tom, why isn't there a Sasha match on the pay-per-view? She's a massive draw. Now none of the crew, her millions of fans worldwide, including me, are not watching the pay-per-view. My expectation is that we will see Sasha Banks and Naomi on the pay-per-view defending the championships against Natalya and Shayna Baszler, but my expectation is, as it was previously, that it'll be a pre-show match. Now when I first said that I expected that match and a pre-show match, whole lot of people, including the crew as you mentioned them, really not happy with me saying it. Sasha Banks deserves this, Sasha Banks deserves that. At this point, it's still a pre-show match. Even though it has Sasha Banks, it's a pre-show match. That's just how it is. Sorry guys, I just have to briefly wipe my glasses. First time I've wiped them since I got them. For those who haven't noticed, for the past 2 weeks, I've been wearing completely different glasses. Much bigger, but I think they suit my face a little bit better as well. Also, I'm blinder than I've ever been. Sean says, and I'm asked her when she would see her back in, and Alexa replied, hopefully soon, just waiting on the call. Also, after she's healed from her sinus surgery, she said yes. She's been ready since before Elimination Chamber. Said Trish and Lita are her dream opponents. Asked about Vince, said nothing but nice things about him. Yeah, a lot of people really like Vince McMahon. This is stunning to so many people, but yeah, a lot of people really like Vince McMahon. Alexa was ready before Elimination Chamber. We know that because she was featured at Elimination Chamber. Simon says, why is there only 6 matches on the pay-per-view? Only 1 championship match, no more title matches at all. Pay-per-view, very lackluster card. Several reasons for this. Primarily it's because they did a bit of a reboot, but it's mostly because they've been reinventing it, like from the off. They've been rebuilding the concept of the pay-per-view from the off, and it wasn't a great start. There's a lot that they need to do. They could have had, for example, Becky Lynch versus Asuka on the card. There is still time to add that. But will they do that without a Raw Women's Championship match? Probably. It's Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing? Doing very well, Noob. Great to see you. Brandon says, hello Tom. Hello Brandon. Great to see you too. Bailey says, hello Tom. Lots of good coverage out there from the European tour this past weekend. How was it covered in the UK? It wasn't. I'm going to be blunt. As a UK wrestling fan, or at least a wrestling fan in the UK, I would not have had any idea that it was on. There was no commercials on TV that I saw. There was nothing on YouTube aimed at a UK audience. There was nothing. I'd imagine there was a bit of talk on BT Sport, but I've watched several football matches on BT Sport over the past few weeks. No mention of WWE. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sean says apparently Drew was heavily booed at a live event in London while Roman was heavily cheered. UK audiences are smarky as hell. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. Drew McIntyre is not as popular over here as he used to be. Jaden says, when does Bailey return? Soon. KJ says, what's up, Tom? I've missed the last few shows. It's okay, KJ. So have I. Essentially, the Twitch has been fantastic, but the YouTube has been a dumpster fire and a half. I've made some changes. I've increased the bitrate, for example, which should have a positive effect on the show overall. And I've just done some restarts, done some changes to the formula and so on and so forth. I was trying to make the overall quality of the streams better, and I think I've sort of screwed it up by doing so. Also, of course, as you know, there are some issues that I'm having with YouTube at the moment, but hopefully they're in the process of being resolved. Jay Quick says, why do you think WWE decided not to do Roman and Nakamura at Backlash? I don't have any particular details, just to be clear on that one. But when it comes to what happened with Roman and Shinsuke Nakamura, someone in the WWE nixed it before it really gained much traction. I think the main reason was the match becoming available for Drew. Sean says, all hail the Stat Queen. And says, everyone go follow Megan Sitton as she goes to gain affiliate. And I could not suggest that in any more detail. Because if you're watching on Twitch, click on Megan's name. Just click on the name, and click follow. You never know. You might like it. And you'll be a big help to Megan in her growth, I tell you that. Megan, as many of you will be fully aware, is a regular here in the channels, a regular here in the show, and is an integral part of the well-informed nature that comes with these channels. It is important to me, as you all know, that I have as well-informed a chat as it is possible to have. Megan is a huge part of that. Jane says, I hope you're going to stream 2K22 soon. It's a fun game. I'm more tempted now than I have been for a long time. The recent patches are certainly a positive, and I have the time, so why not, essentially? I may be looking into that shortly. Simon says, when does Roman lose the belts? Non-Roman fans like me are finding him really boring. Punk's 434-day WWE title run was a lot better, far more exciting, entertaining, awesome. I get what you're saying there. I think the primary reason, one, it was shorter. Two, there was a heel turn in the middle of it. So So essentially it's like 2 title reigns broken in half. And even then, not too long. Roman's title reign for me has got boring. I'm going to be completely honest. I love Roman. Always been a big Roman fan. I came back, I should say, after the hatred of Roman had peaked and had started to trough again. But even I'm getting a bit sick of this. I want something new. Noob says, with Asuka returning, do you want her to see her work with NXT 2.0 talent Cora Jade? And of course, do you want her to turn heel? No, neither of those things. I would like her to stay exactly as she is, and I'd like to see her wrestle a proper program with Becky Lynch, as we're having. Rhea Ripley, a proper program. Shayna Baszler. I'd like to see a proper Asuka versus Shayna Baszler program, where they're given time. Like, time is the operative thing. And I wouldn't like to see her anywhere near Charlotte, but I think Asuka versus Ronda should be in our future as well. KJ says, actually, Tom, Banks and Naomi versus Shayna and Natalya at the SmackDown after Mania Backlash. They announced it on SmackDown last week. Thank you, KJ. Appreciate that, the correction there. So it's such a pre-show match that it's not even on the pre-show. Austin says, no Raw Women's title match Sunday. Yep, pretty much. No plans for it. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have a pay-per-view with not many matches announced. I'll say that, and I think that's very much worth the saying. Sometimes when pay-per-views have low expectations, the WWE is able to exceed those expectations. Simon says, Anthony Joshua, please save us for the Dream Super Heavyweight British Super Fight. I don't think Anthony Joshua is saving anyone in WWE, I'll tell you that. Hello, Michael, how you doing, mate? Sean says, every WWE European tour ends with the babyfaces embarrassing a heel. First it was Corbin, now Sami Zayn. Seems like the heels don't get any love in Europe. At live shows, the heels always lose. Because the heels only win if it's a case of building something for TV. Live shows, nothing is being built. And if there's nothing being built, you might as well send the crowd home happy. I promise you, in that picture that Drew McIntyre posted where everyone is celebrating over Sami Zayn, nobody's happier than Sami Zayn. Andrew Quinn, welcome, mate. Says, hello, Tom. How's your day been? Today, also, I can't wait to see Doctor Strange next week. Funnily enough, I'm going with my friend called Tom, went to my high school. WrestleMania Backlash should be very interesting. My day's been very, very good. I introduced some people who are close to me to Eurovision. I was very tempted to do maybe a Eurovision watch-along. What I'm doing instead is having an actual Eurovision party with human people. I'm very excited for it. It's very, very excited. Sean says, many fans, including most Alexa fans, believe that the call Alexa will get from WWE is a call for her release. I don't believe them. I don't believe that for a second. That's simply not true. The WWE know what they have of Alexa Bliss. They know she's a star. They will treat her like such upon her return, which will not be long now. Ed says, hashtag Team Colohue. Yes. 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 And on that note, if you're currently watching on Twitch, please do remember that you can hit follow and you'll get notifications every time we go live. And a notification right now, just up here. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe if you haven't already. And remember to click like. That does basically guarantee more viewers on this chat. Simon says, does Liv versus Rhea get added to the pay-per-view tonight on Raw? I would like it to be. I think Liv and Rhea need a proper blow-off match. Give them the pay-per-view. It will help solidify both of them going forwards. And it will be a big deal if we're going to get, for example, Bianca versus Rhea soon. And I think we will. Logically, the Rhea heel turn does lend towards Rhea versus Bianca sooner rather than later. Probably sooner. So I'd say Hell in a Cell, Bianca beats Rhea. Then the Raw after Hell in a Cell, Rhea joins Edge's faction to get her heat back. KJ does not think they're releasing Alexa. There's a lot of money and value there. Yeah, there is, absolutely. Alexa Bliss is worth a lot to the WWE. They ain't letting that one go. Andrew says, which movie are you looking forward to seeing in cinemas this year? Multiverse. 100% Multiverse. I'm very excited for it. I'm going to watch that this weekend, I think. It's upcoming weekend. Boss Pedal, welcome. Says, hi, Tom. We are excited by the Best of the Super Junior block announcements. Nice to see them go back to 20. Inclusion like... pardon me. GLEET's L. Lindemann, AEW's Wheeler Yuta, and Impact's Ace Austin. There's a number of interesting names in Super Juniors. Super Juniors always brings in a lot of different people from a lot of different places, which is naturally a very, very good thing. I'm always excited for the Super Juniors. It's just fantastic wrestling, though it does pale in comparison to the G1. If anyone here has never seen a G1 tournament, trust me, you got good times ahead. That is wonderful wrestling. Jaden says, I can't really imagine WWE without Roman as champ. Neither can I anymore, to be completely honest with you. Neither can I. Sean says, Ringside News reported the draft is still on the WWE calendar, will be in September, and they aren't sure if NXT will be a part of it. I wonder where Ringside News got that news. Can't possibly have been from the last several weeks right here on the Tom Colohue channel, where I've said pretty distinctly the draft is planned for near October time, possibly earlier in September, if they want to do it after SummerSlam. KJ says there's no need to rush Bliss back with no plans. Wait for something to open up. Maybe Alexa can face Becky when she's done with Asuka. Yeah. The only rush is what fans have decided is a rush. Now, admittedly, fans want to see it. Fans want to see Alexa back. Fans want to see Bayley back. I get that. But fans will also crap all over it if they come back without a clear plan. And fans will also crap all over it if she doesn't come back and immediately win the championship. And fans will also crap all over it if she comes back and doesn't go to NXT. And fans will also crap all over it if she comes back. This is the issue that the WWE have. They can't make everyone happy. Simon says, why is there only one women's match on the pay-per-view card so far? Could add Sasha, Bosco, tag team title match, Becky vs Asuka, Liv vs Rhea. 3 awesome matches they could add. All 3 of those could potentially still be added in the future, though KJ has pointed out that that's not the plan for the tag match. However, Liv vs Rhea I still think is likely, and Becky vs Asuka is not impossible, so let's not completely abandon it as a concept. That said, I believe it may be with the plan to make the women's match that they have as big as possible. 10 Foot says, Tom, was Bray a top star when they let him go? No, he was a top star when he last wrestled, but he wasn't a top star when they let him go. He'd been off TV too long. Sean's looking forward to Doctor Strange and 4 the most. Ed says, I'm excited for the moved up Ant-Man Quantum Mania, likely taking the spot of Black Panther 2 in November. Marvel is definitely capturing our attention right now. Tommy B says, I hope they have Gunter or Braun beating Roman. It may take a while to get to that point, I tell you. Though, Gunter's there, you know? Gunter's right there and ready. Let's do it. Simon says, are you watching Backlash, Tom? I'm not sure what's the point with no Sasha, Becky on it, no championship matches, nothing at stake. I will be watching Backlash live right here on the Tom Colohue channels. I also have a plan for afterwards. Okay? There is going to be a post-show for WrestleMania Backlash. Just being blunt, there is going to be a post-show for WrestleMania Backlash. I'm going to plan it out, I'm going to lay it out, I'm going to go live with it. I'm not entirely sure where that post-show is going to be, because there is an alternative option to these channels that could be potentially very beneficial. But I have to wait and see who's interested in doing that on the other side. I'll let you know more details as they come in, but I'd imagine it would make you all quite happy. Ed says, if Rhea joins Edge, I'd love to see Rhea versus Alexa feud. Rhea versus Alexa is something that's been batted around for a while, and honestly, I think it'd be perfect. I think they've got everything they need to make that work. Austin says, could we get Alexa versus Bianca, Raw Women's title, since Bianca pinned Alexa? Yes, but not for WrestleMania Backlash. Wrestler fan says, when will we start seeing Gable Steveson on WWE TV? As soon as he has no alternative commitments, he will be reporting for training in the WWE, and he will be involved pretty much immediately after. KJ says, I have to admit, this is mainly due to Roman being WWE champion not being on Raw, but Raw has all these non-title feuds, which is amazing. It is, and it kind of shows that you don't need to do things the way the WWE has been doing things for so long. It doesn't all have to orbit around one person. It can be a little more stretched, a little more varied, a little more interesting. They can do that. It's not really a problem. Ghost, welcome. There's cute Eric Bischoff's theme because I'm back and better than ever. Hi Tom and everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome, Ghost. How on earth are you? What I am quite liking recently is that we're getting quite a bit of rotation in the people who are here and the people who maybe take a week off and, you know, come back into a later show. It used to be that if I couldn't have the same 10 people in the show every week, I'd feel a bit unhappy and a bit disappointed in myself. That's no longer the case. There's always plenty of people asking questions, chatting away. There's always plenty going on, and I'm just very grateful to have you all, basically is what I'm trying to say. Brandon says, meanwhile, I'm just here eagerly awaiting the Obi-Wan Kenobi show later this month. I already know how it ends. KJ says, Cody versus Seth, Edge versus AJ, Liv versus Ripley, Ali versus Ciampa, maybe. RK Bro versus Usos, Sonya versus Women's Division. There is plenty of possibilities for the show, but I don't think they've put together that bad a card, to be honest. I think they've given quite a lot of people a night off, as it were, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You have people crying out for rotation and for giving people a rest, and then getting annoyed when their favourites aren't on every single show. I mean, how many times have we been here and it's like, is Sasha going to be on Raw? Is Sasha going to be on SmackDown? Is Sasha going to be on NXT? Is Sasha going to be on Raw? How many times has that happened? Maybe let people rest every now and then. I don't mind this card. Yes, Ed, I did indeed say a post-show. Sean says, Gunter believes Vince could take a chop from him, called him a tough man. He is a tough man. I mean, come on. You've seen the guy's physique quite recently. Ed says, Tom, we still need to cut your hair. Ed, you are a dirty, rotten liar, and I don't trust you with my head. Jaden says, when is Bianca losing the title? She's literally just won it, mate. Give her a chance. Simon says, as regards what Austin was saying earlier, Sasha ain't on the pay-per-view. Sasha deserves better. I literally just said sometimes it's worth maybe letting people have a bit of a rest. Wrestler fan says, it was reported by Brad Shepard, bad start, that we will be seeing John Cena return in June. Will he actually be returning, or will it be on Money in the Bank or SummerSlam? I've heard nothing about John Cena returning. Not a thing. I haven't heard a single thing about it. From what I can tell, that report might be based around the fact that he becomes available in June, because he's not filming anything in June. And that may have been the entire thing. Sean says, did anyone see the video that Dexter put out? I believe it's signalling the return of Sam Shaw. It is signalling the return of Sam Shaw. He's gone back to the previous character. The Dexter Lumis character has been very good for Sam Shaw as he will be booked going forwards. I think it's really shown what he can deliver in a pure character environment. I'd like to see him wrestle a bit more now. Wolf Gamer says, happy Star Wars month. 2 more days, mate. 2 more days. 2 more days. And I'll be able to say it. Until then, I'll bite my tongue. So he says, I believe I heard you discussing a possible post-show with someone recently. I may have been. That may have been a possibility. Bailey says, there's a funny video out there from a UK tour asking Sasha if she likes Nando's. She does not. That's a shame. I would have thought she would. Megan says, I'm not ready to have the finales of Picard and Moon Knight this week. Don't even want to talk about Doctor Strange. In a few weeks, I might be ready for Obi-Wan. It's a rough time to be you, Megan, with the fact that you're just like the biggest nerd I know, which, as you know, is a massive compliment. I know that there is a lot on your mind right now. Ed says, Sam Fries, you're Ed Fries. Sam Shaw and Dexter Lumis were essentially the same thing. Yes, but at the same time, it's to a much wider audience. And that is, of course, why I think it's a very good thing for Sam Shaw that we had Dexter Lumis. Simon says, the men on Raw have nothing at all to fight for no world championship. Roman has buried the entire company's heavyweight division. Not true. Tell you what the men on Raw have to fight for. Pride. Kevin Owens got a wrestling match with Steve Austin without a championship being involved. Lashley and Omos are fighting over MVP. Cody and Seth Rollins are fighting over who's the franchise player. You know, there's stuff there. Megan says, I'm celebrating my streaming anniversary this week though, and a big congratulations to you. I did mention that earlier and encourage people to go and follow if they haven't already. Hopefully they have. Tenfoot says, Tom, in your opinion, is Sasha the most popular in the women's division? I'd probably say yes. I know she's got the most militant fan base. Like, if I go on to Twitter right now and say, Sasha Banks is not my favourite wrestler. I will be in the shit with everybody. And they will all let me know. So I've got to be careful with that, is basically what I'm trying to say. But I think there's other people who are as popular. I think Becky's doing a great job. I think, Charlotte's Charlotte. Ronda Rousey might not be getting the biggest cheers in the world, but she's still a more well-known name globally than Sasha Banks. But at this point, I'd go with Sasha, yeah. Boss Pedal says, Tom, any news on what Sasha orders when she goes to McDonald's? Is that because you saw that I was drinking out of a McDonald's cup? Does she get a McFlurry if the machine is working? Well, I mean, she should. Don't we all? The user says, hi, mate. Hello, the user. Sean says, thoughts on what Ember Moon said recently. What Athena said recently, I understand. Completely understand. She wanted to dress how she wanted to dress. She was being encouraged by WWE management to dress differently. That's not their say. The user says, Tom, will he be going to the UK pay-per-view? Probably not, no. Wrestler Fan says, will Brock Lesnar return from Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, or even Clash at the Castle? He'll definitely be at SummerSlam. He'll definitely be at Saudi Arabia. I don't think he'll be in the UK. Wolf Gamer says, I ended up checking out the Ahsoka book from the library a few days ago. I can't wait to it. That's not something I'm aware of. Megan says, Cody and Seth are fighting over who Dusty liked more, which is fair. So fair. Megan says, sorry I missed the shout out. Thank you kindly for that and everything over the last year. Had some tech issues. Not a worry. Not a worry, Megan. Anyone who supports me will be supported back. And to be fair, a lot of people who don't support me still get supported by me. So, I pop into Radio Techers quite often. Not as often as I'd like, but I try and pop in as much as I can. They've just reached 100 subscribers, which is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. And hopefully they will continue to grow. KJ says, who's more popular, Becky or Banks? At this point, I would still go Banks, but I can't guarantee it. The user says, which big names do you think we'll see at Clash at the Castle? I think it will be treated as a normal WWE pay-per-view. Roman will be featured. Sasha Banks will be featured. Becky Lynch, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins will all be featured. Sean says, Ember also talked about WWE wanting her to be a coach in the PC. Didn't want to do it. Said she was only supposed to be in NXT a year to get repackaged. I did report that at the time, that Ember Moon had gone back briefly and would eventually be returning triumphant. That is not what happened. Essentially, Ember Moon went to NXT because the WWE didn't know what to do for her on the main roster anymore. The same can be said of Mandy Rose, but Mandy Rose, they managed to find something that worked. Steve, welcome, mate. Says, hey, Tom. How are you doing? Room for one more in the chat? Oh, absolutely, mate. You jumped straight in. I did see you going live when it came to the WWE releases, and I really hope that live show went fantastically, mate. I really do. For those who don't know, Steve operates a wrestling channel with more subscribers than mine, but can always use a few more. So, Steve, if you want to tell us what your latest video is, by all means do so. Don't link it. But by all means, tell us what it is. Simon says, Tom, just wondering on your current opinion on Lord of the Rings Rings of Power Amazon Prime show 4 months out from release. Me, I'm very cautiously, nervously looking forward to it as a massive Tolkien nerd fan. I am pretty much exactly the same, and I appreciate this question because it allows me to talk about something I'm very passionate about. For those who don't know, I am in the process of writing a Lord of the Rings-esque fantasy series. And I have been for 27 years. Yep, 27 years. Since I was 6 years old, I have been writing this one thing. And it continues to build and grow. And there is a lot that I've got written down already. Quite a lot on Google Docs, I'll tell you that. And it continues to grow and spread out. Naturally, the beginning of my passion for this was John Ronald himself. So I'm excited, but we're getting into territory where it's the beginnings of Sauron. What I'd like to see more is Morgoth. I would like to go back to the First Age, rather than, Here's a guy that you all know what happens to. Let's do Morgoth. The original big bad. Badder than Sauron, you know? A literal fallen god. That's what we had. We are where we are. But that's just me. Wrestler fan says Tyson Fury said he might be on SummerSlam and the UK pay-per-view. Who might he face? He is trying to get onto the UK pay-per-view to face Drew McIntyre. Sama says, your predictions for this week's UEFA Champions League semi-finals this week. I think Villarreal versus Liverpool is pretty clearly going to be Liverpool. I think Liverpool are in the Ascension already, in a pretty good position. Whereas I think Real Madrid are... It's much tighter between Real Madrid and Manchester City, though all the goals in that game were spectacular. I think that could go down to the wire, but I do think it's a City versus Liverpool final. It says, hot take, Lord of the Rings is overrated, hides behind S.H.I.E.L.D. You're entitled to your opinion, mate. You're entitled to that opinion. That's absolutely fine. I disagree, naturally. But what I will say is that while Lord of the Rings, in my opinion, is the greatest fantasy story ever told, the telling itself leaves a bit to be desired. If you get my meaning. Steve says, thanks buddy, appreciate the plug. Was a good stream. Latest videos, my weekly Q&A, questions on WWE, AEW and more. So if you'd like to hear opinions from someone other than myself on WWE, AEW and more, Steve's your guy. Bailey says, outside of Dakota Kai, were there any other NXT cuts that surprised you? Haaland surprised me. They were building him big. Next Brock Lesnar, mate. Next Brock Lesnar. Wolfgang says, a book based on the Padawan that Anakin ended up training during the Clone... Oh, yeah, I remember that. KJ says, to be fair, Ember Moon's WWE run has been very unfortunate. Called up at the worst time in 2018. Ronda just debuted while Alexa and Jax were on the top of Raw. Had 2 major injuries. She isn't necessarily their type. Never ever really found a story for her. Yeah, they briefly tagged her with Nia Jax and then had Nia Jax turn on her. And then Nia Jax broke someone's face. So that story was over, you know? Ember Moon was forgotten in the wake of that. Just a lot happened. Larry Welcome says, a British castle-based pay-per-view is the ideal time to bring in Prince Andrew with a new heel faction of just him on his own, sitting on a throne in the corner, being ignored. Well, Larry, I have it on good authority that that's what the Edge faction is all about, and that is why Edge has stopped sweating. Sean says, Dave Meltzer said he believes WWE management is high on Nikita Lyons. Could she dethrone Mandy Rose? Counting your chickens a little bit there. They are high on Nikita Lyons. The reason that you can say that with absolute confidence is because she's on TV every week and hasn't been released. It's not a great leap of faith. Dan, you're alright, mate. It's been a little while. Hope you're good. Says, hey, Tom. Do you think or have you heard if NXT will have a UK takeover around Clash at the Castle? I believe Dublin was the last one scheduled, but never happened. NXT UK takeover for Dublin was planned. However, that has been scrapped. They are looking at the return to UK takeovers soon. When it comes to the UK pay-per-view, that seems to present the ideal possibility, and they have actually had an NXT UK takeover in Cardiff before, in an arena that I was personally in attendance for. So that is something that they're exploring at the moment. Steve says, did I just see McDonald's drink there? What's your go-to Mackey's meal? To keep things wrestling related, what's your favourite wrestling wedding of all time? My favourite wrestling wedding is Stephanie and Test. Because, my God, what the hell was that? Though I also did like I Now Pronounce You Billy and Chuck. It was great. And yes, my go-to McDonald's meal, I'm not there for the burgers. They give me heartburn. I like the wraps. So the crispy chicken and bacon. That's usually the one for me. That's what I had today. Michael says, will Mandy get a push on the main roster eventually? Yes. They are discussing what to do with Mandy Rose when she does return. She's been held back a little longer than they expected, but it's because she's just doing so well there. Steve says, what is your favourite piece of wrestling merchandise that you own? A Seth Rollins belt buckle. I have unfortunately gained quite a bit of weight recently, and none of my belts fit me. I have actual gut now, which I didn't used to. I weigh 2 stone more than I used to. I'm 20 pounds heavier than I used to be, at nearly 12 stone. It's a lot for me, alright? It's a lot for me. None of my belts fit me, so I can't wear it. But it's just the SR in the crosshair logo. It's just really cool. You know, it's just really cool. Tenfoot says, Tom, do you think the Golden Role Models did enough to be a Hall of Famer? I don't think the Golden Role Models did enough as the Golden Role Models. but I think their singles careers mean they're all going to be first ballot. The 4 horsewomen are going to be 2-time Hall of Famers, no question whatsoever. Spider-Boss says, hi Tom, why didn't Roman defend the Undisputed title at Backlash? Because there were never any real plans for him to do so. They considered having Shinsuke Nakamura step up, but the moment was not there to do so. Hector says, all those people who throw a negative light in WWE being more catered towards casuals should look at the NFL draft. The Miz, Corbin, Titus O'Neil announced draft picks. May seem small, but it gets eyes on WWE regardless. So WWE does aim at casuals, and it's made them the most successful wrestling company in the world. Bailey says, 12 stone, will you go back to squats for subscribers? Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan, that. I may have to consider it. I don't always find out when I get a new subscriber on YouTube. As an example, my YouTube is not monetized at current. But what I was thinking, it doesn't necessarily have to be subscribers. How about 5 squats per new sub and a squat per dollar donation? So 100 bits or $1 super chat, you get a squat. A new sub on Twitch, you get 10. Could do that. Just to be clear, not doing that right now. But it could be fun for the next watch along. Do that for a watch party. Could be cool. Is anyone interested in that? Because I know you had a lot of fun with the squats previously. I gained a lot of subscribers from that, to be completely blunt, and I do appreciate all of your generosity. Had some hype trains because of it as well, and that was a very strong period of growth. But my word, there were a lot of squats. Spider-Boss says, according to Sean Rossat from Fightful, Roderick Strong asked for his release. Spider-Boss, we did discuss that in the first 5 minutes of this show, so by all means, when we finish here, just pop back and have a watch. Simon says, Ronda doesn't care about the pro wrestling fans. We don't care about her. Shred, a disease to the women's division, killed Sasha's push and entire momentum. Okay, so Simon, that's bullshit. That's absolutely incorrect. Ronda Rousey loves wrestling. She likes the fans. She engages with the fans a lot more than most wrestlers do with her live shows. She's having a great time. So let's not make things up. The issue with Sasha's push was the WWE. The WWE decided to take away her match at WrestleMania. Not Ronda. They are different people. Spider-Boss says, in your opinion, Tom, who is the GOAT of women's wrestling? Charlotte. No question. Charlotte Flair. Absolutely no question. I know a lot of people hate her, but that doesn't change the fact that she made women's wrestling way bigger than it ever has been in WWE. Her overall talent gave WWE confidence it never had before. Charlotte was the one. Boss Pedal says, have you been enjoying the rise of FTR? Their interview with Renee Paquette was great. I love how open they are about their feelings and aren't afraid of being vulnerable and human. I like FTR. I think they still have a lot left to give, and I'm very excited to see more of them. And yeah, they definitely want the IWGP titles. Give me both of them in New Japan, even just for 3 months, and I will be so happy. Give me a Wrestle Kingdom where it's Dangerous Tekkers and FTR. Oh, I need some cake. Simon says, do you think MJF wins the AEW World title from Hangman Adam Page? Yes. Yeah, I think MJF is going to be the next AEW champion. I've been very open about that for a while. So, we have no more questions left. We have 45 minutes in. I am going to wrap it up there and get myself an early night ready to go back to work tomorrow. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for joining me. There will, of course, be more to come. Yeah, I think Charlotte will be more appreciated when she retires, Steve. I definitely do. There will be more videos and things to come. I'm continuing to make some recordings and stuff, get more standard videos, not just live shows, to tide you over in those days between, and continue the overall growth of the channel as I continue to chase... Well, there's some technical issues preventing monetization, but it's something that I'll sort out on that side. I'm just continuing to chase full time at this point. Just continuing to chase full time. So thank you to everyone who has joined me. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.